So we are here today with Joanna White, author of Dark Magic and Other Fun Fantasy Type Trouble-Causing Things. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're working on at the moment, and I shall try not to cause too much trouble.
Well, I'm Joanna White, obviously. I'm a Christian author, and I'm a huge fangirl. That's kind of like my brand and stuff. Right now, I'm currently getting ready to publish my new book called The Crystal Heist. It's going to be out in August, and that'll be an ebook, paperback, and audiobook, which I recorded myself.
Really?
And right now, yeah, it was a little bit of hard work on the editing part, but other than that, it was perfectly fine. So,
But that's really cool.
Yeah. But my current writing, I'm basically doing what's called the 1,000,000-word challenge, which is where you write 1,000,000 words in a year. And so that means I'm writing about 4,000 words every day. And it's pretty interesting. I've reached 730,000 since January 1st. So I'm hoping to finish it up in the next couple months.
Wow. 4,000 words a day, 1,000,000 words a year. That's really cool. Where does this challenge come from? Because I've never heard of it. Not that that means a lot. I'm sort of out of touch, but
I don't know. One of my author friends, Katie Cherry, actually was going to do it, and I got the idea to do it from her, and then she decided not to do it because timing wasn't right for her, and I decided to do it. And so last year I calculated, I wanted to know how much I naturally do on my own without trying, because I wanted to know how much work it was going to be. And I actually hit it last year with like all my novels, my short stories, my blog articles, and things like that. And so this year I decided to make it harder on myself and only do just my novels. Like none of my articles, my short stories count, just novels alone. So.
Oh, wow. And you're already 700 and what was it, 30 something thousand in?
Yeah, 730,000. So I've written 10 novels the last time I counted, but I've written more since then. I haven't really counted yet. So
you do realize it's only June, right? Like at the time of recording?
Yes, that's what my husband was telling me. And I'm just like, well, he's like, you do realize it's 1,000,000 words in a year. I'm like, I know.
Well, I mean, if you want to get it done, go ahead. But wow.
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
Thank you.
Wow, I don't even know where to start. What I want to know about all of these novels that you've written, but I also want to let's start with your current series that's out and your current works, and we'll get into the other stuff later.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, so you better tell us a little bit about your series or books. Are they standalones? I'm not actually sure.
Well, the Valiant series is a series, basically, obviously, and it starts with Hunter, which is out, and then it goes into Shifter. And with these books, it's kind of interesting because each of them are kind of like, you can read any of them in order, but as you go through the series, eventually the storylines converge and everything comes together. I actually have that whole entire series. There's 17 books in it. I actually have it fully written. I wrote them a long time ago. And right now I'm just now getting them published with my publisher, Ambassador International. So basically it's like just the editing process and the cover making progress, and as fast as my publishers can move, basically, to get the series out. But I did write a story called Rebels, and that's a collection of short stories that takes place during in the book of Hunter, in the world of Hunter. Because Hunter, there was so much of that world that I didn't get to explore in the book because the storyline moved a certain way, and I felt like I needed to, last year especially, go back to that world. I mean, this year, I needed to go back to that world and kind of explore the back history to how the bad guys rose to power and all that stuff. And that's why I wrote the collection of short stories, and I called it Rebels, and I released it this last month as in honor of Hunter's first year anniversary. So.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so that series is completely written, not completely out. Is there a timeline for when it comes out completely, or is it just kind of as it happens?
Kind of as it happens. I would like to do at least one book a year. Eventually I want to get to where we get to be like 2 a year or so, because I want to finish the whole thing by 2030, basically. So like, I mean, there's 17 books, so that's a lot of books to get through. And I know right now with like COVID-19, my publishers are really like lagging behind, because of everything going on. So it's
I understand.
It's kind of delayed the third book's release and stuff, but so I hope to have specific dates, but we'll just, as long as they're published to me, that's fine with me. So.
So tell us about this one that's coming out August 4th.
August 3rd, and yes, it's
Third,
called the
because I can do math.
It's called The Crystal Heist, and it's actually just a standalone fantasy. I actually don't have a lot of standalone fantasies because I don't know, I just end up writing series without meaning to, basically.
I
So
understand that impulse.
so this is one of my few standalones, and even then I still have an idea for a sequel eventually, but haven't gotten to it yet. Right, basically the idea is a ragtag team of thieves try to attempt the greatest heist their world has ever seen, basically. And it follows the story of a girl named Alira, who's an orphan. Lyra lives on the streets her whole life, and so she gets into all kinds of trouble, and she gets arrested and put in prison, where she meets this guy named Mackay, and he kind of protects her. And then together, when they pull off a lot of scams, and that's when they get this group of ragtag team of thieves together to try to pull off this heist that could potentially change the entire social system of how their world works and make things more fair for the poor, kind of thing.
Oh my gosh, so, that is like a serious heist there.
Yes. Yeah, it escalates pretty quickly.
Wow. Cool. A lot going on in that one. I can understand the urge to write a sequel.
Yes.
Fun. Ooh, that sounds like huge amounts of fun. I like it. Okay. So, of the 10 books that you've written this year, how many of them are related? And how many of them are like standalone or different series types of things?
That's an interesting question, because I wanted to do it for the sake of saying that I did it, but I had all these story ideas, and either I had like a book series here and there where like I needed to get the next book written and I'd been putting it off, or I had a random story idea that I just had and never written, and it drove me nuts, and I was like, I need to get some of these done. So I was like, why not do this, because it would get all these stuff done. And so I wrote the 6th book in my clean vampire romance series. I wrote the 6th book in it. I wrote the 1st book in a new series that I'd been wanting to start for a while. I started another series of fairy tale retellings, and I've written 1 book in it, but I have the other 3 planned and outlined. They're going to be written as I finish the challenge, so those are on there. Right now, I'm currently writing a series of contemporary romance novels that end in natural disasters. So I'm writing those at the same time right now, Earthquake and Volcano, or what those called. I added a few to the list because I joined the this writing competition on Wattpad earlier this year, and so I added a novel and wrote The Seamstress for that one. And then I forgot to actually join the rest of the contest, so that was funny. And then I wrote. What else? And then I had an idea for a sci-fi romance, and I've never written sci-fi before, and so I wrote that one, and that was the last one that I just finished before I started the 2 I'm writing now. So I'm probably forgetting a few in there, but it's essentially those.
That's super exciting. All of those sound so interesting and so different, and wow.
Yeah, I've tried to make it different. That was one thing I was worried about, is because I didn't want to like do this challenge and just focus on my word count so much that all the storylines end up like either being repetitive, or the ideas, like multiple ideas are coming back into each book and stuff. So I was like, I have to be careful to make each one different and unique from the other. So
yeah, well, and getting those story ideas that you already had onto paper, well, onto your computer, because I don't imagine you're writing them by hand.
No.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, it's really made me feel accomplished, because there for a while, I'm like, I can't write anything anymore. And I'd been stuck writing 50,000 word novels because I used to join writing competitions with a word count. And I guess it got me in a habit of not writing a lot. And I'm like, when can I write an epic fantasy length again? Like, I can't do it anymore. And I was actually scared that I couldn't. And one of the novels, the 1st book in a new series that I'm starting called The 8th Curse, I actually wrote it, and it ended up being 90,000 words on its own. And I was like, yes, I can still do it. And then the sci-fi, which, remember, I normally don't write sci-fi. I don't like it. I don't understand it. I can't write it. The sci-fi romance ended up being 120,000 words by the time I finished it.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
So I got really excited about the fact that it's also helping me grow and get past that silly, constrictive writing, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I'm so tempted now to do this challenge, but I feel like your day must look so, well, writing oriented? I mean, do you plan out this? Do you just sit down and type until the words stop coming?
No, actually, I write from 7 o'clock in the evening, literally till about. Sometimes it usually takes me from 7 till about 9:30. So usually about 2 hours, I can get 4,000 to 5,000 words in.
Mhm.
And recently we've got a new puppy, and so I've
Oh,
been having to babysit the new puppy, but I've kind of got a new system going on and everything that still works. And then on top of that, I got OCD and I really want to finish by the end of July, beginning of August,
hmm.
and so I decided to jump to 5,000 words a day instead of 4,000. And so with that, and then because I did that like last week, and then we got the new puppy, so but usually about 7 o'clock. Now lately it's been about 8 o'clock, so 8 to
Hmm.
about 10 is when I finish, but it kind of varies from night to night. But that's my writing time, and I designate that for only my writing time. So that's just basically. Now there have been a few times that we've been busy all day, and I'm just like wiped out, and I don't want to write, but I
Right,
got to get
yeah.
it. But other than that, yeah, that's basically the only amount of time that I designate to that. Surprisingly enough, so
Wow. That is super impressive.
thank you.
Wow. I'm sort of jealous of your ability to just put words on page, but that's irrelevant because entirely different process, I'm sure.
Yes,
Ah, very cool though. Okay.
thank you.
So for you're mostly into fantasy, but this sci-fi piece that you were talking about, what was that like to do? Something, completely different.
Yeah, I don't know. It was so weird. I had to go to my husband because my husband, he has more of an editing mind, but he
Hmm.
reads a lot, or he used to. He doesn't have so much time anymore. But that's his favorite genre. And for years, he's been bugging me to like write a new sci-fi and everything else. And I'm like, I can't. It's just not my genre. And so
Hmm.
with this one, I was constantly going to him for help because I don't understand the tech. And so what we figured out is you don't have to get detailed with the tech to make it still sound sci-fi, you know.
Hmm.
And so he figured out some of the technology ideas for me, and I kind of found a system that I like because I do watch Star Wars and stuff. It's one of my favorite series. And
Hmm.
so I figured out this new like system, and we kind of built the world together. And basically, it was just a thing where I'd constantly go to my husband for help. The problem is sometimes I would be having to write, like I said, from 7 till about till later in the evening, and he doesn't get off work till 11:30. And
Ah,
so the was worried that he wouldn't be there, but then he also wasn't able to work because of COVID. So I was like, it actually worked out because he was home,
yeah.
and I was able to just go to him with all my problems, and then he could get me back on track and kind of help me. But the romance part of it, the storyline, really just got me into it. And honestly, because I've had books in this challenge where I dreaded every night. It felt like such a job, such work, and I literally like struggled every day to hit my word count. And with this one, I like looked forward to it, and I just went in there, sat down, and wrote, and boom, I hit my word count, or sometimes over it every night. And it was just like so weird because sci-fi is not my genre, and yet I got into it. And I only had like typically to help with this challenge, I outline 50 or 20. Hold on, 50 chapters. Each chapter is supposed to be 1,000 words. That gets
Hmm.
it to 50,000 words, and it makes it simple on me. Well, each chapter ended up being about between 3,000 and 4,000 words instead of 1,000, and that's why it got to 120. Was because I took my time, and each chapter like was way longer than what it was supposed to be, which is
Hmm.
a good thing. And so that's kind of what happened there. But it just really surprised me because I'm not used to. And now I actually have an idea for another sci-fi book. I haven't got
Uh-oh.
it out. But yeah, I'm kind of got into a sci-fi phase, and I'm just like, this is so weird.
Nothing wrong with that, says
Yeah.
the sci-fi and fantasy writer. Yeah. So what are you gonna do with all of these books now that you've got oodles more?
Um, Basically 2021 is going to be a huge publishing year for me, so I'll have to figure out timelines for them and which ones would be good to release when and stuff like that. Like I've already gotten a cover for the sci-fi one. It's called The Mech Soldier. So I got a cover for it already. I get addicted to buying covers a little too soon, but that's beside the point. And so I just basically figuring out a timeline to release them and when and stuff like that, and kind of just casually releasing them. And the problem is I've got too many more books outlined and I only need about 4 to finish off the challenge. So even after I finish the challenge, I want to get these other books done. So I'm probably going to still be writing a lot, and then until I get these books done, and then I'll probably just relax. But so.
I mean, I feel like relaxing after writing 1,000,000 words in less than a year is probably justified.
Yeah. Yes, I think so. It should be, but
yeah. So, okay, your outlines, how detailed are they? Because I mean, if you're outlining and writing, then wow.
Well, see, that's the thing, and I'm actually probably going to write a nonfiction book about this because it's such a big deal for me. I started planning back in November when I knew that I wanted to do this for 2020, and so I took November and December. Wasn't writing anything really, and I decided to outline all of them then, and that gave me time to prepare. And I have a system because of the writing competitions. I used to join them, but I also used to host them, and so the way that they worked was that they had like where you'd put out a prompt, or it's called a task. And they would make a character within the world that you set, and then they'd write whatever the prompt was. And at the end, all their tasks, quote unquote, would go together to make a story. And then you'd keep judging every round. Certain writers would get eliminated and all that stuff. So what I did was I took that structure and I basically would do what I call a task outline, which is really vague. And then I would take it, and each task would be 5 chapters. So there'd be 10 tasks for a novel. And then so I would take the task outline and I would focus one task at a time, getting me at least 5 detailed chapters outlined out of that, essentially. And by the end of it, I would have 50 chapters outlined and everything. So that's kind of how I worked it, and I just did that for each book basically until I got them outlined. And it only took me a couple weeks. Like, it honestly didn't take me very long because I knew I needed 20 novels. And so like I told you before that I added some novels to this. Well, I was able to outline them so quickly while I was writing something else because of that structure. It just allowed me to just go through them super quickly.
Wow. That's cool. And a great idea to get the outlines for like several different projects going at once.
Yeah. So every chapter, basically, they were super detailed. I knew exactly, okay, this is what's going to happen, and stuff like that. Sometimes I'd rush through them and they were vague. So that night I would be like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. But, that's where improvisation comes in. And other times my characters would run away from me and get me off outline. And so I would panic and like, I got to get back on outline because I got to be writing this every day. And I would just like, have to talk to my husband, and we'd figure out a way to get back on track because of what the characters had done. And, so that, but that made the book better, I think, in the end, because I love, you still got to improvise sometimes. So.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. No, that's great. Characters cause so many problems sometimes.
Yes, they really do.
That's great. Okay, so now I'm going to ask a question. What's the editing process like?
I hate editing. Editing and writing, I feel like most of the times are 2 different mindsets, honestly. And my husband's got an editing mind. I have a writing mind, and they really mesh together. And so usually I can go to my husband and we sit down and edit it because I don't have a lot of money to actually hire an editor. And for some reason I can edit, but I can't edit my own stuff. I mean, like I actually have services and I edit other people's books and everything else professionally, but I can't edit my own stuff because I always miss everything. I don't know why, but it irritates me because it would be so much helpful if I could.
I understand that completely.
Yeah. So like in April, whenever I wrote that Rebels, that was another one, a part of this challenge that I did, collection of short stories set in my world of Hunter. I wrote that, and then my husband and I spent a couple weeks editing it, and then I was able to publish it all within like a month time because we were able to just get to it so fast. But my husband, he works when COVID's not going on anyway, he works from 3 to 11 every day. And so he's exhausted. And when he comes home, he wants to like do his own thing and stuff like that. For him, editing's more of like a job. And so, sometimes it's hard for me to get a hold of him so that we can, because I don't want to put too much pressure on him. So I'm left kind of trying to figure out, how to do this. So I'm not looking forward to editing any of these.
No.
And I don't know how that's going to work. And that's probably going to be my next hurdle to kind of get over. I can write a book, and I would sooner write a book than I would edit one. Like, honestly, from it just, I don't like editing at all.
Oh, no.
Editing at all, but editing other people's isn't as bad. This is only a complaint against editing my own stuff.
Yeah, I understand. There's something about self-editing where you're too close to the thing.
Yeah, I think that's probably my problem. Is just I can't see any of the mistakes, and I'm like, I know they're there, you know?
Okay, so I'm gonna move sideways because I can. Um, for your genre out there, and you can pick whichever specific genre that you like of the fantasy sci-fi world. Is there an author whose abilities you'd like to steal in order to improve your own stuff?
Yeah, not any author in particular, but like I think as writer readers, we kind of do that anyway, or at least I do. I don't read as much as I used to, but one of my author friends, Ariel Payment, I love her vocabulary. I mean, she sounds like this like 1500s English speaker, and I'm just like, wow. And I read her stuff and I'm just so impressed, and it sounds so mature. And next to her, like, my stuff isn't that bad, but when you compare it to some of her vocabulary usage, it just sounds like awful. And I'm just like, I really want to like grow my vocabulary to be a little bit more old school and mature and everything. And then another author that she's a famous author called Cassandra Clare. She writes Mortal Instrument series. She's one of my favorite authors. Her descriptions are like, they're not even that long, but they're like really, really like vivid. So like you're walking the streets with her, and I swear it seems like she visits every place that she goes to, because she's really specific on basically every place that's in her book. And I'm just like, I don't do that, you know, when I'm writing. I'm descriptive, but I'm not specific all the time. And I am sometimes if it comes to like a fantasy world, because I can make that stuff up off the top of my head. But like if I'm writing a story that takes place on Earth, I really haven't been anywhere other than Missouri, to be honest. So I don't know a whole lot. And Google Maps and like, you know, Googling stuff will only get you so far. And I just feel like she's so good at that.
Yeah, well, I mean, unfortunately, travel does require some extra effort and money and no pandemic.
Yes, that's a big one.
That one has been causing a few problems with the travel industry, I've seen.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, description and vocabulary. Ooh, those are two good ones. I mean, there's always love playing with words, but then I'm also a linguist, so
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. Now, I imagine you probably haven't planned this out, but you mentioned you wanted to do a nonfiction book. What's that going to look like? If you know.
I have a few actually planned. One is just about the entire process of writing, because usually writers, like, they're really good at one part of it, but like other parts of it they don't know so much about. And so I want to start off with like one of them where it's just about taking an idea, literally taking them through the entire process of writing a book, getting it out there, and then the editing process, and then the marketing and publishing, because few people know how to do every single bit of that. And so I was trying to figure out, like, well, I don't know anything. Well, yeah, I do. In writing this challenge, I'm like, you've written novels all the time, so why not share your knowledge with other people and everything? And then that got me to thinking, well, I don't know any other writers, very many, who have done this challenge. And so I decided to do another novel that's completely revolving around the Million Word Challenge, and literally getting people to want to do it and stuff like that. You know, sign up for like, you know, email reminders to write every day, and they'll get weekly tips and stuff like that on how to get through it and stuff like that. And I thought that'd be really cool to share with other people, you know, to help other authors do this.
No, that sounds super awesome, and now I'm actually like really interested in this Million Words Challenge, but having never heard of it before, this is the very first time I've heard of it, and I'm very interested. So I think that sounds like a great idea.
Yeah. Well, hopefully if this gets out, I can like make it more of a thing so people actually hear about it more often.
That would be useful. It is problematic, I've discovered, if there are things going on and you have no idea that they're happening, but that requires being like way more connected than I am. So, oops. Yeah. But then they get to the marketing publishing, or hold on, other way around. No, sort of. Marketing, publishing, marketing. I guess you do all three simultaneously.
Kind of.
Which, for the self-published indie author world or even the traditionally published world these days, It's
Mhm.
tricky.
Yeah. It honestly really, really is. And it's just like, and I've learned, like, when I first, because Hunter and all them, before they got accepted by Ambassador International, they were self-published, but I didn't know, I didn't even do a book launch. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just fresh out of college with no knowledge whatsoever. And I maybe got like $10 a month. And that's, I don't know why, but I basically, and that it was just like terrible. And
Mm-hmm.
so when I got hired by, not really hired, but when I got accepted by Ambassador International and they took them, I did the launch with them and they guided me through the process and I learned. And now
Ah.
I'm just back on that other stuff and I cringe, but it's just so much better now. And then I was able that from there in, November 2019, I was able to release my first self-published novel, like the right way, Dark Magi. And since then I've learned, and now I actually think I know a little bit more on the marketing side of things than, my publishers and stuff, because they're not heavy on the marketing side.
Mm-hmm.
They're really good at the covers and the editing and polishing your book, basically. But I've noticed that with different publishers have different strengths and different weaknesses with each one
Oh,
and
I'm
everything.
sure.
So
Huh. Well, that's super cool. I mean, I would love for it to be possible to just kind of throw your book out there and all of a sudden you're an overnight success, but that doesn't actually work.
yeah.
So,
Oh, isn't that a dream?
yeah, darn. Marketing. Ah,
Yeah.
tragedy. Okay, so moving sideways a little bit again. For writery types trying to get into your world, and you can pick either the many, many words challenge or fantasy genre or something specific like that. Are there traps to avoid?
Um, I would say, like, especially when you're writing, like, for me, like with the million word challenge, I got caught up in hitting my word count every night,
Mm-hmm.
and that makes it so tedious. Like, you just dread it every day. And so it's important for me to, like, always remember that writing is my passion. I wrote since I was 10 years old, and it's been a hobby first before I made it a career. And so sometimes the trap that I fall into is where it becomes more of a career, and I'm like, I write what my audience wants, and I got to do this, I got to do that. Just make it fun again, make it a passion for me again. And I find that my stories are better if I'm passionate about them
Mm-hmm.
than if I'm not. And so for me, that's a personal thing that I avoid. It's probably not for everybody. Like, that's not a trap anybody deals with but me, probably. But
Oh no, I get that.
so it's, for me, it's important to just always have fun with the books that you're writing, and don't get caught up so much in writing for other people or writing for genre, or writing for the genre trend. I mean, that you lose the passion that you had for writing. Because obviously, if you're a writer, if you're doing all this work for very little money and stuff, you've got to be passionate about it. Like, I don't see any,
Yeah.
they are passionate about it. So just don't lose the passion that you have, basically.
Of course, that's always rather tricky once you get focused on the other bits.
Yes. Yeah. You really have to separate your mind from the publishing and marketing for a bit. And that's why I usually, like, when I'm writing something or editing something, like, it's always different stories that I'm working on, so that I can separate, like, this is my passion project right now, this is what I'm editing, and this is what I'm publishing. And it's all different so that I can keep it all separated for a bit.
Yeah, doing different things I have found can be extremely useful.
Mhm.
Too much focus can also be problematic, but
Yes.
yeah. Okay, so when do you breathe to take a break? Because if you're, okay, I imagine you're rather busy with all of these
Um,
things.
Honestly, I'm really not. Like,
Really?
it sounds like I'm doing a lot, and I feel like I'm too lazy sometimes. Like, well, I don't do anything with my life. But I wake up around 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, because my husband and I have a night schedule. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's my family time. Like, I do things around the house, take care of the dogs, I hang out with my sister. It's a lot of just introverted nerdy stuff.
Yeah.
Essentially, we're watching TV shows, we're playing video games, we're playing with the puppies, and then we make dinner and do the dishes and all that stuff. And then 7 o'clock, that's my time.
Mm-hmm.
And it starts off with my writing. I don't care if I'd rather watch YouTube. I got to get my writing done first, and then I got to get my publishing done, and then a little bit of marketing here, and basically all my, what I call my priority stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
then maybe about 10 or 10:30, I can have a little bit of a break to watch YouTube. But here lately, it's been, that's my time to watch the puppy. So
Oh,
it's
puppies.
kind of, Yeah, but it's kind of fun too. So, and sometimes I can get him settled and watch YouTube or whatever, but I honestly really spend most of my time just doing introverted nerdy stuff. Honestly, I'm a huge gamer girl and
Mm-hmm.
I love video games. So, when my husband's not home, I usually, sometimes we play video games and stuff. And here lately, my sister and I have been into a show called The Originals, and we were binging it before we got the puppy. But, so it's just like everybody was talking about how quarantine, like you just stay at home and just do stuff and get bored. And I'm like, this is my life
I
normally.
know.
Like nothing's normal.
My
But
extroverted family, they call me and say, okay, so how do you deal with this? Because this is your life. I'm like, well, um, I do stuff.
yeah, I like it. And see, that's for me. I'm an ambivert. So I love the isolation. I love doing my own thing and stuff, but I also get energized from socialization and I have to
Mm-hmm.
have it every once in a while. And that's what's weird. So I eventually, after about a month, like April, really, the end of April, I was starting to kind of feel the whole, okay, I got to get out of the house. I got to go talk to somebody besides my family,
Hence the
but
puppy.
my extroverted side coming out. But I'm actually not honestly as busy as I feel like I should be sometimes. But I mean, that's just kind of how I feel sometimes. So,
Huh.
but I kind of appreciate that you sound like that you think I'm busy or that, it kind of makes me feel good.
Well, I mean, you're accomplishing rather a lot. And even if it takes a shorter amount of time, the fact that you've accomplished something is always good to have. But also, you have a puppy, which is
That's
kind of
true.
exciting.
Yeah, husky puppy.
What kind? I have to ask.
Husky.
Huh?
A
Sorry?
husky.
Oh, oh, how cute.
Yeah.
Oh, what fun.
Yeah.
Big balls of energy and fluff.
Yeah. Yes. Well, we have an Australian Shepherd, so they're super high energy, so we've gotten used to it. So the energy isn't so much a problem. My dog Bry, he's a beagle hound mix, and he's a lazy couch potato, and he's just so lazy and everything, and all these people are just so energized, and he just like stop, he's just like it's hilarious. But
Oh, that's so fun. So much fun. Yeah, the writing buddies, they make things helpful and
yes,
worthwhile
they
and
do.
entertaining.
Yeah, they inspire a lot.
Oh, I know that feeling well. Ah, what fun. Okay,
Yeah.
so before I ask you our final question or so, run through the books that you've actually got published. You don't have to list like every individual book, but the various series, so that I know sort of what's out there.
Well, you've got the Valiant series, which is Hunter and Shifter, and then there's a few short stories in between them for,
Mm-hmm.
like Hunter has a short story ending and Shifter does, every book has a short story ending because too many cliffhangers. And then there's Dark Magi, which is book 1 of the Republic Chronicles,
Mm-hmm.
and those are books that I'm planning to write. So Dark Magi right now is the first one out in it, and eventually there'll be more of that. And then, of course, Rebels is the short story collection of Hunter. It's a companion book. And then I have the Crystal Heist coming out in August. So not a lot published, but I have a lot written. So it's about the timing and getting more out there.
Okay, sure. Which makes perfect sense because, well, at least from what I understand of the indie world, the rapid release model, or at least consistent publishing, is the way to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
Okay.
why this challenge I feel like has really helped me because then I actually have the books to do the rapid release stuff with.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Ooh. I'm definitely going to be trying this challenge next year. I feel like that's so far away, but we're already at June, so and by this time this video comes out, it'll be August.
And that gives you time to like plan and outline ahead of time because most people probably can't outline as fast as I can. I don't know, but that gives you plenty of time to like plan out each book and get your outlines ready because when you do this challenge, you kind of need to know what you're writing every day. You don't have time to piddle, basically. Right. So you have to have all 20 books or however many you're doing outlined. I did 20 because I only write 50,000 word books, but if you write 100,000 word books, you're probably going to need about 10. So it really just depends.
Well, it never hurts to have extra options just in case.
Yes. Collections, actually. I had these collections outlined as a fallback. I haven't had to use them yet, but like a collection of short stories and each story in it's 1,000 words. That's relaxing to fall back on that on the days when I don't want to work on a novel and it's just so much work. And relax. It's 1,000 words, beginning, middle, end, you're done, you
Yeah.
know? And so getting a couple collections put into your list really helps, and having extras. Like right now I've got 27 books in total that have been outlined, and I started off with 20. And so I actually have too many books and not enough. Like I only need 4 to finish the challenge, and that's a bit of a problem for me the other way. But you'd rather have that than not enough and, struggle to finish the challenge because you don't have enough or whatever.
Yeah, no, it sounds like a good plan. So for me at least, I'm on board. This is great. You are super inspiring about all of this, and I have 6 months to go plan a bunch of books. So hooray. Are you going to do this next year, do you think, or just take a year off for publication and editing and all of that goo?
I can't not write. Even if I take like a week off, I can't not do it. Like it's honestly like I get really anxious. After like a week or two, I'll start going stir crazy. I think I took like a 3-month break one time, and I was absolutely like hysterical almost. Like it's bad. So I'll probably and that one I was struggling because I'd finished the Valiant series. So it was 17 books, 7 years of my life on one series, and I was done. And I tried another one, but it just paled in comparison to me to the Valiant series, and I'm just like, this is not working, and I'm just like, I'm never going to write another book again. And I was like panicking, like I'm not going to be able to do it anymore because the Valiant series was like everything to me, and it was just like this really hysterical time for my life. But eventually I got into writing again, and a million-word challenge later, we're fine. But at the time it was kind of a big deal, and so it like I have to be writing. So I'll probably, what I say, take a break, but that probably means I'm going to be writing and trying to get through the rest of these books that I didn't finish in the challenge and stuff. I'm working on rewriting a few other series and stuff like that. So
yeah, no, I understand. The urge to write is very strong for pretty much every writer I've met, but I think that might just be the definition of writer type.
Yeah, unless some, because I know a lot of writers. I mean, every writer struggles with procrastination, and it's like the big enemy in our faces that just hinder us. And that's kind of what this challenge has helped me push away, is the urge to procrastinate, because I can't. I have to complete the challenge, and my will to finish. I can't procrastinate, and it's because every writer, I had a huge problem with procrastinating. That's the whole reason why I did this challenge. So I would stop procrastinating and get those books written, basically. And procrastination is like a huge problem, at least for me.
No, you're not alone on that one. The world of YouTube is highly distracting.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes.
All right. Well, it has been absolutely fantastic talking with you. Is there anything else you'd like to add, writing related or otherwise?
Not really, no. I mean, I have a fan group, and it's not really just fans of my work. We're just a bunch of nerds who love hanging out and having memes and stuff on Facebook, and it's called JW Warriors. So it's facebook.com/groups/JW Warriors. And it's a bunch of nerdy stuff. So
sounds like fun. I'll be sure to include the link in the description box.
Sounds good.
Because nerds are, my people.
I love Star Wars memes a little too much.
Yeah, I understand that one. Although I have to admit, I have been bad and not watched any of the new Disney Star Wars movies except the first one.
Not missing much. Yeah, you're definitely not missing much, honestly. Okay. I don't really care. I'm a diehard original. Like, I love the originals and prequels and stuff. So if I get into Star Wars, I gotta curb myself because it doesn't live up to the Star Wars universe. And I'm just like, we just gotta calm down and relax and, not focus on the new ones. But
that's usually when I move back into Babylon 5 territory.
Yeah. Yes.
All right. Well, it's been great talking with you. Have a fantastic day. Good luck with your many, many words and also the puppy.
You too. Oh my gosh, this has been great.